We want to start out tonight with a little attitude of gratitude, so I'm going to bump just for a moment in front of roll call. The Compass Center for Families and Kim Pope brought our little snackage tonight. It was School Board Appreciation Month, and they just wanted to say thank you. So they intentionally, yes, very good organization. She told me they intentionally brought enough for everybody in the room. It was not just board, it's enough for everybody. So please grab some snackage, make yourself comfortable.
And so somebody said, Travis, that's not because we're going to be here all night?
That is not because we're going to be here all night. No, that is no sleeping bags necessary.
But that was note well taken, that when we bring food, there's an assumption we're gonna be here a long time. So we'll try to maybe redirect some of that.
Okay, roll call. We're down one. Katie's not here yet. Don't think she's coming. We'll see. Additions, accept agenda. We had to add under the action items, extension of fuel dispensing agreement. Apparently there was a 25-year limit on that. Nobody noticed between us and the city.
20-year limit.
20-year limit.
25.
Yeah, so we're 5 over. So anyway, we got to re-up that, get it current again. So we added that since we spoke at the work session. Anybody else got anything for the agenda? Do we need to add anything or move anything?
Travis, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Got a motion and a second. Dave and Benito. Any discussion, any further from the board? All in favor of approving the agenda as presented, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, next up, community service. Saw a couple little notes in the reports.
So Travis is the board chair. Mr. Corbin, Mr. Anderson, and Mr. Evans would please stand up. I'd like to recognize them for setting a new record for their support in taking down the Christmas lights.
Excellent.
This weekend on a nice day, so thank you. And again, we had an admin that helped set them up, so I think that's really a huge thing for not only the community, but for this district, just that community service piece. So.
Yeah, to go out there and be part of it. Thank you, guys. All right, school spotlight and student celebrations.
So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to turn this over to Jen, and she'll bring her team up, and we are going to talk about sources of strength.
Very good.
We're going to stand instead of sit.
Yes, stand and move.
Okay. So my name is Jen Mader, and I'm the school counselor at Clear Creek Middle School. And I'm going to have these guys introduce themselves real quick.
Good evening, and thank you, board and other attendees. My name is Bill Hawley. I'm the Community Prevention Specialist at Johnson County Public Health. That was brief for me, huh, Lynette?
I'm Amanda Ruby. I'm the 6th grade science teacher at Clear Creek Middle School.
And so 4 years ago, we came and presented to the school board and said we want to bring sources of strength to the middle school. At that time, Bill and I had been talking about it for several years in prevention world, like what else could we do? And I have to say it was kind of gray. I really didn't know what it would look like until you've done it. And so we wanted to come back 4 years later and kind of show you what we've been up to. In the board report that Ron shares every month, we always put what Sources is doing. And so instead of bringing students and talking about campaigns, we wanted to educate you on what is Sources of Strength at the secondary level. Some of you have attended training, some of you have had kids that have attended training, some of you were on the board when we presented 4 years ago, but we have new admin and new people in the room, so we just wanted to kind of combine that all. So we have trained 4 groups of kids, which are called peer leaders, and we're going to talk more about that in just a moment. But we're going to start with kind of what is the basis of Sources of Strength. Are you our clicker, or do you want us to all click?
All right.
Do I just do this? Okay. Mr. Hawley is going to take us kind of about prevention.
Many of you know me. You know that I love stories. And so here's a short story for you tonight, Travis. The basis of prevention. The story goes something like this. There was this village. And in this village, there was an elder woman. Because, let's face it, women are our best leaders. Explain to my audience just a little bit. This elder woman loved to take her dog for a walk every morning along the banks of the river. One morning as she was walking her usual walk, she hears a shout coming from the river. She looks in the river and hears someone struggling in the current. Being a leader, she jumps in and she swims to the person, brings them out, brings them to the shore, administers CPR, and saves a life. The next morning, as is her custom, she's walking her cute little dog along the banks of the river, and again, She hears a shout from the river. Once again, she jumps in, gets someone, pulls them to the side, administers CPR and saves another life. And before she can even catch her breath, she hears another shout. And once again, she jumps into the river and saves another life. And of course, the community, the village, was up in arms. What are we going to do? People are falling in the river. Surely we must do something about this. And so they did what many communities do. They trained people to be lifeguards, made sure they knew CPR. They put watchtowers all along the river to see when people had fallen in the river. Makes sense, doesn't it? One morning, the elder lady was walking, but this time she was walking upstream. And the community members who knew her as leaders like, "What are you doing? We need you here. All hands on deck. This is a crisis. We have too many people falling over the waterfall." And she said, "I'm going upstream to see why people are falling in the river in the first place." That's sources of strength. That's proactive. That's upstream prevention. The nature of sources of strength is to build hope, to increase help-seeking behaviors, and to give young people strength so that when the currents of life get a little difficult, they're able to figure out a way to maybe get to the shore by themselves, or maybe have a friend or a trusted adult help them get to that shore and never get to the waterfall. Because you and I as adults, we've had waterfalls in our lives, yeah? Life's not given to be easy, huh, Lynette? And so sometimes in our lives, isn't it helpful when we have that friend or maybe that family member who we know is our trusted person, who we can call at any given time of the night? That's what sources of strength is about. Building resiliency, building coping skills among our youth to handle the currents of life. And so that's what we call primary prevention, upstream prevention. Sources of strength, too, has a role in the intervention part of prevention, because this is the nature of community prevention. Above, right in between, and then after. And so in the intervention stage, what we've seen, and Jen and Amanda, oh my goodness, I almost forget your name, they can speak to this better because they're with the middle schoolers every day. The intervention piece is simply that friend who's noticed that their fellow classmate has gotten into the currents of the river. And then it might sound something like this. "You know, Mike, I see you're having a hard time today. You know, why don't we walk down to Ms. Mater's room and see how she might be able to help us?" It's not about putting the responsibility to help, a 6th, 7th, or 8th grader to help bring someone to shore. It is to help them notice and know who the trusted adult in their life is. Right? That's intervention. And sources of strength, the research says that peer leaders and others who have an idea of sources of strength and the hope and the help that it brings are 4 times more likely to be that referral person. Because kids talk to kids, don't they? Right? In the postvention place, sources of strength is great because we talk about social connections. Many of you know that I've been working in the suicide prevention arena in Wyoming for almost 20 years. And really when we talk about suicide prevention, it comes down to 2 losses: loss of hope and loss of connection. And so in that postvention piece, you can see how when young people, especially teens, tweens, are connected, in that postvention piece, they can walk alongside others in kindness and in compassion to help them through whatever that grief is. And it doesn't have to be the loss of a friend or a family member to suicide. It can be any of the other losses that the currents of life can bring to us. So that is my prevention spiel for you tonight. I'm not done yet, Travis. I'll be back.
Okay, so there's a recipe to sources of strength in the model, and the first one is adult advisors. And so Amanda has joined me as a lead. Rob Hammond and I kind of started it 4 years ago, and when he left, Amanda jumped right in, and she had been trained out in Claremont, so it was perfect for her to jump right in. Bill has been with us, and Erica Wallover has joined us too. We've also joined with the Johnson County 4-H program, and so they're rolling out more of that language of sources of strength. Bryce came and got trained with us. The YMCA and Boys and Girls Club were all in. They just had some transitions in October when our training happened, and so next year they'll hop on board with us. And if it's nothing else than seeing the wheel, all the different places our youth go, it can kind of bring that on, like I'm having a rough time. Oh yeah, there's that wheel. Where can I find my strength? Very exciting. Our elementary teachers, Mrs. Haas at Cloud Peak Elementary started this with me 4 years ago. Nikki and Carrie Graves down in KC and Lisa Stein went and got trained this summer. And they loved it. And I said, if you don't love it, you don't have to do it. Just go to the training and see what you think. They came back, they loved it. We partnered with the state and they actually helped us buy the curriculum. And so now we're doing an elementary curriculum of sources of strength. So our secondary looks very different. But I just wanted to give a shout out to my co-counselors because I feel like we've kind of decided as a group to do that and we're doing it in every school, so that's pretty exciting. And then we have some community volunteers. Our most consistent, I have to give a shout out to Crystal Smith. She's been with us for 4 years. She shows up and makes it when she can, and it's just nice to have that other extra adult. So when Bill said, you know, a kid will reach out to an adult, the other thing, they might reach out to a friend and say, I've got this, and a friend might say, I have a trusted adult I'll take you to. You don't have one, but I'll take you to one. And so that's another strength that we can add. The next part is the peer leaders. This is where I know 4 years ago they were like, is this another club you're bringing? It's definitely not a club. It's very targeted. So if you think of a lunchroom and you pick different kids from each of the tables because you want some of the isolates, you want some of the people that move around to every table, but you want representatives from every group. We train 30 to 40 kids depending on total per year, and that's the recommendation by Sources of Strength. So that's a mixture of 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. But as you can see, going back to the class of 2028 was our first group. We trained 28 kids out of that class, and they were obviously just there that first year. So we trained a bunch that first year. And then every year we've started adding some more. We're to the point that this year for 7th grade, it was really cool. We had a ton of 6th graders that just jumped on board last year. If they came to over 75% of the meetings, we guaranteed them a spot in the training. So it's kind of become something that kids want to be a part of, which is really cool. So these are our actual peer leader trainings that get suicide prevention. They spend the entire day with us. But it's a lot of fun, connecting, breaking down barriers. And then any student is welcome to join our meetings. Our meetings are the first and third Thursday during bandit time. We focus on the wheel, which we're going to go over here in a minute, but we focus on just one piece of the wheel for every month. This month we're doing mental health. That's going to be our focus for January. They get to choose different committees because we have so many people, and we found the first couple of years we're supposed to just kind of be the bumpers while the kids decide. The middle school kids are like cats and they're just like everywhere. So we've kind of figured out if we break into committees, we got little smaller bumpers and then they can kind of lead it. We have an amazing group of 8th graders this year that have been a part. Many of them have been a part for 3 years and they're leading it, which is really cool to see. That covers it. So each meeting has to have one part fun. Sources of Strength absolutely believes the best way to connect is to have fun. So it's games. Fun games make you laugh, make you break down those barriers, connect. That happens regardless of anything. We always have fun. One part sharing, which is we're going to do here in just a second. Sharing is talking about what gives us strength. So if it's where on the wheel do I need more strength, or this month I'm focused on this strength, it's whatever sharing point that we can do. You're up. One of you.
Can we start with family?
Sure.
Wonderful. So family support can be our blood family. And in the case of students, that could be parents, that could be aunts, that could be uncles. Many times that's grandma or grandpa as well, that can provide support and a place for young people to lean into when the currents of life aren't being very nice, yeah? But they're also our chosen family, aren't they? And I would suspect that I'm not the only one in the room who has some really key chosen family members who we lean on and lean into for that support when we need it. And so it's really fun as we first train and then as we have these conversations around family support, all the different ideas that young people today in 2026 have when it comes to family support. That is one key source of strength.
Okay. And I'm just going to be And I'm gonna read because I talk to middle schoolers, not adults, all day. The next piece on the wheel is positive friends. Positive friends are especially important in middle school, which can be a time when students want to test out their independence and may want to confide more in a friend than in family members. Having friends helps us feel heard and can be a huge source of strength if we are struggling to feel down. So as we go along, we're going to ask you guys some questions to participate as well. So by raise of hands, how many of you guys have like one special friend that you can go to when you're struggling that you can like think of?
A+ on that?
Mentors. I'm assuming mentors is next. Mentor. I think we're all familiar with the idea of mentors or mentorship, and certainly with young people, adult mentors not named mom and dad are super, super important. I whispered to Maggie I was going to pick on her. Jeremiah really was not a reader. And then he had this incredible teacher, Maggie Lambert. And Maggie gave him, well, you didn't give him, inspired him to read for a whole variety of reasons. And if you saw his reading list today, it's redunculous. I don't even know the words that he's reading at this point at the University of Wyoming. But mentors are very important in your life. So Travis, I forewarned you too. Give us one example of a mentor that's made a difference in your life, not just professionally, because I'm thinking Pepper Newstall might have had something to do with that, but perhaps professionally and personally.
Yeah, I've had a couple of real great surveyors I worked for. Newstall's one of them.
Yeah.
Randy Stelzner over to Riverton was another that really pushed me to develop myself professionally and then grow as a leader. At first, I was just the new kid and starting out, but they wanted to push me up into crew chief and make me take steps to become more of a leader. So yeah, I've got several mentors that help me grow.
Awesome. Thank you, Travis.
All right, the next one is healthy activities. Just raise your hand again. I like raising hands. How many of you guys are involved in some sort of healthy activity? Not necessarily on a daily basis, but on a daily basis. Healthy activity can look like exercise, but it can also include gardening or spending time with animals or playing music. For our students, activities they enjoy are a great outlet for energy, and they have a lot of that, and their feelings. And it can also help promote connection and belonging.
I'll give an example of a healthy activity at Clear Creek. We had a bunch of chess people 2 years ago, boys, and they started a chess club, and every single Wednesday we play chess. And now we've got a bunch of girls joining. And it's kid driven. If they show up, we have it. I always call you Steve Miller, man. I know that's not your name. That's what I want to call you. Mr. Miller actually came and played with us. We welcome anyone, if you know how to play chess, come on Wednesdays because the kids like to try to beat you.
Oh, I was going to say something.
Oh,
Wasn't there some kind of a line dance that I missed because I was out of town too here
Oh, yes.
recently?
dancing
Right,
is a big one.
With Joy Beecher?
Yeah, Joy Beecher and Corey.
I miss out on all the really, really fun things. Okay, generosity. We can think about generosity in many, many different ways. But I think about generosity, one, as how we can offer kindness through who we are, more importantly than words. But then also generosity in offering that gratitude as kindness is given to us. And so, Lynette, how has someone been generous with you today or maybe in the last week?
Today or within the last week?
Absolutely. And not that extra big tip after you fix someone's hair.
Oh, I didn't work today, so we're good then. Gosh, okay, generosity. I was generous to myself. I'm currently in a huge, and this was something that we focused on in the last.
I was just gonna say, is this your goal? I'm so proud of you.
Honestly, it has been. So I took the sources of strength training this year. Well, I've taken it several years, but I took it this year. And one of the challenges for the adult leaders was to really self-reflect and look at yourself and like things that you do for yourself. And that is hard. That is hard to self-reflect. That is hard to give yourself time, especially when you're raising kids, when you have a job, when you have unpaid jobs. It's like, it's hard. Time is hard. And so I currently have a major home project going, and it's been a nemesis for the last year. And I am on the home stretch of my home project. Like, I am so close. Today, I was alone most of the day at home, and I could have really hauled off and like got to the tip of that. However, I chose to be generous to myself because I have been working really hard the last 4 days and I took a day off. I had a couple of really great meetings this morning that that started off my day in a way positive aspect. I went and was generous and sang for a funeral at our church today, which made my heart just like beam. And then I went home for the afternoon and I know it sounds weird, but I love to fold laundry. It's one of my favorite things to do. I folded some laundry today and I just watched 2 episodes of Little House on the Prairie. I kind of did my thing. And so I was generous to myself today.
I love that.
And yeah,
Thank you, Lynette.
thank you.
That's a great point, isn't it? Spirituality. Oftentimes we think about spirituality from a Christian worldview, and certainly that's a big piece of spirituality for many of us in the room. But for me, and from a sources of strength standpoint, it is that and yet more. So I think about it in spiritual terms, Master Obvious. So it's spirit, yes. What lifts my spirit? As I was coming here today, I mean, did anyone else notice the sunset? We get so wrapped up in the sunrises to start our day, and yes, those are beautiful gifts from the Creator. I think we can all agree. But the sunset tonight was just so beautiful, and you know, we're so busy, aren't we, all the time? With this, that, and the next thing, and just pausing for just that moment, because out of the corner of my eye, Jake, it was just like, what? That is seriously pink in that sunset tonight. And just taking a minute and being grateful. Thanking the Creator for all that He's given us, and inspired by a sunset. So that's spirit in one way. Secondly, spirit is also that idea of connection, practicing what that looks like. So I think about it this way. People, places, and things that warm our hearts, that heal our mind, that satisfy our soul, right? So for me, many of you know my wife Denise, we just booked our first weekend up at Meadowlark, the first weekend in June. There may or may not be snow. It's something we've done every year. Being on my kayak on Meadowlark Lake, even if it's 42 degrees, Dave. I don't care. I don't care, because guess what? There's no one else on the lake. It's just, you know, it's just that moment of appreciation. So spirituality is a big piece. And it's been interesting because we did a word cloud. Was that? Help me, Jen. At the end of last year or 2 years ago?
2 years ago.
2 years ago, and certainly faith was a big part of that word cloud that the peer leaders identified. See, you got both of them.
Okay, so just like this slide says, it's important to take care of our hearts, our minds, but also our bodies for us to feel whole. We typically tie this piece of the wheel to the Healthy Me Day that they do at Cloud Peak. Our students from just 8th grade?
7th grade.
7th grade, sorry. They spend the day as peer mentors, teaching the younger students why it's important to do things like eating healthy, resting, being active.
Playing games.
Playing games.
Yeah, and I'll just add, because I've been able to go to the Healthy Me Day all but 1 year, watching these 7th grade, almost 8th graders in front of 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders, it's like, there's future leaders, right? And sometimes we as adults, don't we get a little, oh man, the future's not so bright. I mean, who's gonna lead our town and our country? Because, you know, get off my lawn. But I'll tell you what, it is a kick in my spirit and in my soul to see these young people like really impacting those 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders in just a very, very special way. You wanna kick this one off? And I may edit or add. No, I wouldn't edit, but I might embellish. How about that?
So I'm going to start this out a little graphic, but I have a question. What would you guys do if I were to walk in here and my arm was kind of like bent or like I had a bone sticking out? What would you guys do?
Walk you across the street tomorrow?
What if I was like, no, I'm fine. Let's finish the meeting first. It's okay. You guys would probably insist that I go get help, right? So same thing with our mental health and sources of strength. We aim to teach our students how we can identify another student, teacher, parent, somebody else that's in our lives that's struggling. And just as with physical help, it's important that they get help for their mental health as well. And also we kind of like to emphasize that if you're hurting, it's completely normal for us to experience highs and lows. It's okay if we're not always up here. But we know, if we know how to lean on our sources by looking at the wheel and by trying to kind of emphasize what are our positive strengths, then we're better able to get the sources and the help that we need.
We deal with big emotions in life, don't we, sometimes? That can feel overwhelming as adults, right? And so certainly, it goes without saying that 11, 12, 13, 14, 15-year-olds, when they have those big emotions, who are they leaning into? What strengths, as we have these conversations, do they remember that they can lean into? Who are the trusted adults? Who are the connections? Again, here's the word together. And so how can we come together as a community of compassion to make sure everyone is seen and no one loses hope?
All right, so the last part of our model is we add strategic campaigns. And the campaigns are whatever the kids come up with, whatever they're passionate about at that time. It just has to spread hope, help, and strength. So the other part of our meetings is planning. So either the kids are planning and fighting it out of what it's gonna look like or breaking into other little groups. They really emphasize that we look at all modalities. So we've got a group that does like a bulletin board, just that kids are walking by. We've got a music group working on right now. Our presentation groups like the Healthy Me. We've made some videos with the kids that know how to make the videos. We do lots of all school activities. The whole point is that every message has to do hope, help, and strength. We do not do any sad, shock, or trauma. So it's not like the old signs where you'd see about don't do drugs.
This is your brain on drugs. Just say no.
These are just a couple campaigns just that we do. We did a thank you thing to people within our building. One of the kids brought up that the holidays are sometimes rough, and so it would be really cool to remember either a special something you used to do with someone or someone who has passed away. So that was a bulletin board that the kids made. We do a rock, paper, scissors tournament, which is a connection thing, and we've got ways that the kids can get back in through playing with adults. We did a conversation starter. This year, we're trying to do more of those where the kids stand at the door and greet the students, and the question is, would you rather give or receive? So it just starts those conversations and kind of includes everyone. Most of CCMS said they'd rather give, which I thought was cool. We've done We Belong stuff. We've taken snacks. Again, these are just different grades. Those are the shirts we were talking about where we did words. And then we got a grant and bought every kid a shirt. There's our dance party with Miss Joy Beecher and all of her energy. So in the end, what we're hoping for is positive cultural change at Clear Creek Middle School. Here's kind of the research that they shared out. I just wanted to share again. We've talked about the kids are 4 times more likely to refer peers to adults. I would say at school, I get a lot more referrals, which is really cool. And lots of times it's just noticing this. And lots of times they'll say, I'm noticing a teacher struggling right now. Like, they're having a rough day. What can you do to make that teacher's day better? Or it's a kid or whoever. And again, the cool thing about this, it's definitely a suicide prevention, but we don't really talk about suicide outside of the one training. So that's kind of a cool thing. It's all about hope. Yeah.
Can I add to that?
Yes.
So from a prevention standpoint, and I guess this is a good time. So those of you who are not aware, Johnson County School District number 1 and the Johnson County Prevention Council, which is the community prevention grant at Public Health, we share the financial responsibility for this. And so it is, wait for it, working together collaborative effort for the good of young people, right? And it's a wonderful, 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 wonderful thing. And what I would say is, when I report on sources of strength, it doesn't go to suicide prevention, it goes to all focus areas. Because it's not rocket surgery to connect the dots and say, when we're building coping skills and resiliency, hope, help, and strength with young people, it doesn't just apply to I could ideas, which is how Dr. Thomas Joyner talks about suicidality with that notion of I could, my life is this bad that I could. But it applies to all the dark and twisties, all the currents of life. Should I go to that party? I think there's going to be booze there. Should I not go to that party? Should I take that vape from my friend? Should I not take that vape from my friend, right? So I'll stop there because I see heads nodding and you get it, so I'll be quiet. Maggie's amazed. Right, see,
And so this is the new latest research, and I'm just excited that we now have our elementaries all on board, because I do think proper implementation is going to be key to continue. So their overall thing is to empower a well world. When people ask me why we brought sources, I run at a sense of belonging for all kids. I feel like middle school is a really tough time, and it's the perfect time to do this. High schoolers are really busy, and so I think this, I know some high schools do it, but I think it would be a lot. Middle school is just like the perfect time. The kids don't have a lot going on. It's during the day. I'm seeing way more connections, relationship buildings between different groups. And again, it's all about hope, help, and strength. Any questions? Sorry, that was longer than we thought it would be. Start talking.
Oh, I'm still going to say one more thing, if I may, Chairman Pearson. So I'll be retiring this year. When I presented at the year end at the county commissioners, so everything through public health naturally runs through the county commissioners, I only made one point, because funding is, Charles, is funding an issue? School board is funding up in the air, and certainly it is for prevention, because not a lot of people understand the proactive nature of prevention. And this is what I can tell you. I can tell you that last year in Wyoming, 157 of our friends, family members, and loved ones died by suicide. We know that. I can't tell you how many conversations of compassion really good people like Mike Hansen have had to intervene upstream and support someone and get them help. I can't put a number on that, right? And so I said to the county commissioners very pointedly, if funding shrinks and we're prioritizing strategies, here's the one strategy to prioritize, and that is sources of strength. That is how I've been doing this work for a long time. This is the best evidence-based strategy, getting human beings when they are most vulnerable and susceptible, but also most curious and wondering and hopeful, I hope, at that 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th level. That's kind of my sweet spot. So, board chair, superintendent, let's keep sources in Johnson County School District number 1. Please and thank you.
All right. Thank you. No
Thanks,
questions?
you guys.
Thank you.
So Travis, I want to add to that. That is
Please.
not on the list of options. That is something that we.
Okay, that's fair. Okay, next up, we've got the consent agenda.
Make a motion. Motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Got a motion and a second. Lynette and Marcia, discussion on the consent agenda items. Hearing none, all in favor of approving the consent agenda as presented. Excuse me, Marcia, go ahead.
Connie, can you just explain the procurement? What did we get there? I didn't understand what that was. The procurement purchase. Replacement UPS? What is that?
It's the battery backup. Christy can give you a better.
I think in my board report I talked about it too.
Okay,
But
okay.
they're just like a battery backup to keep power up on the network equipment mainly.
Okay, in
there's
my
power
head, I
banks and
was
stuff.
not even close to that, so, okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Discussion on the consent agenda. Okay, hearing none, all in favor of approving the consent agenda as presented, signify by saying aye. Okay, action items. We've got the first one, policy revision, first reading. These are the ones we looked at the work session, and this is, help me if I get this wrong, but these are the ones for monitoring the grants, am I right?
Correct. Okay.
Grant monitoring necessary. Anybody want to make a motion? File DJA Uniform Grant Guidance Cost Principles.
Travis, I'll make a motion to approve DGA cost principles.
I'll second it.
In a second, Marcia, Dave and Marcia, okay. Discussion on DGA Uniform Grant Guidance Cost Principles.
And Connie, as we went over the work session, you reduced this from, I forget how many pages you said.
This is a brand new one.
This
We
is
don't
not-
have this one. This was something that we have to have to meet EDGAR, which is the federal grant requirements. And so this one is a brand new one. It just gives us what we need to do about cost principles and to follow EDGAR.
So is this something the Wyoming School Board helped, right?
No, this is something that we had to write in order to meet EDGAR, so.
Other questions or discussion on DJA? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Okay, DJB, cash management. Same principles, if I recall correctly.
Make a motion to approve, policy DJB, management.
Got a motion and a second, Lynette and Casey. Discussion on this one. Hearing none, all in favor of approving review. Did you have discussion? Okay. Hearing none, all in favor of DJB signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Okay. Got the two revised. The capitalization thresholds procurement policy, current procurement proposed revision. Can we do these as a slate or do we need to one at a time now?
You can do it as a
I
slate.
think we can slate it if we motion that direction.
The understanding, Travis, this is first reading and this is what's coming out of the work that's being done on monitoring.
Okay, so I'd entertain a motion to approve the recommended revisions as presented in the agenda. Motion and a second. Marcia and Casey, did I get that right? Other way, Casey and Marcia. Discussion on approving the rest of these recommended revisions.
Did these go past the policy committee?
No, we went through just trying to get the monitoring piece done. So we're not gonna bring this back to you next month. We're gonna wait till we get through all those processes. So we're gonna send it to Scott, we're gonna send it to food service, we're going to get through the monitoring piece. We're gonna go through the procurement team, we're gonna hit all the spots that we need to, and then bring it back to you when everybody is satisfied. But we needed to get to the point. The monitoring is due at the end of January, first part of February, and we want to show them that we began the revision process.
Connie, what do you think your timeline is in bringing these back?
Probably April.
Other questions, discussion on this one? Okay, hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. All right. Okay, Nick.
So Travis, just as a chair, just kind of listening to that discussion, do you as a board and stakeholders understand what monitoring is and why we're bringing this to the table? It's kind of like a corrective action plan. So they're finding things that, in order to align through this process, that we need to change. So basically, what you just approved tonight is us showing compliance through, you hear me reference it as an audit, which is the same thing, but the reality is, if we don't do this, then there's another level of corrective action because you're not. So this is a great process. So trusting the fact is, we brought it to you. Everybody understands that there's next steps before the second reading, but this is real. This isn't something that she dreamed up. I think we've had this discussion. We just keep adding more policies and how. That's the world, unfortunately, we live in. And I need the stakeholders out in the community and you guys to understand, it is an ongoing deal. When we get audited or we go through a federal grant monitoring piece, these are real things that could impact the district. So I, as a superintendent, appreciate that you're recognizing the work that Connie and Craig and Steve and Leslie, they're all doing through this federal audit piece, because this actually allows the principals and the teachers to do their jobs. So I appreciate the trust.
And as I read through them, these are things we must keep records of for a certain period of time, 5 years in some cases, more in others. But this is all the stuff that protects everybody so that we can see we're doing this correctly. And if a federal audit comes through, we have the appropriate documentation
Well, and just another piece, they spent 2 days in Casper learning how to go through this federal monitoring. Connie was so excited about it. And then they get to do another one, Craig gets to do another one coming up, so this is part of the world we live in.
It is.
Okay.
This is a 3-year process, so every 3 years we're monitored. And so we're trying to put processes in place that we're not having to spend so much time. So this is hopefully in a process where we can do that. And also in my report this month, I kind of gave you kind of the definition of what we're monitoring and what it means and what we're going through. So it's in the report.
And then in addition to that, Craig, next year, we were selected for SPED to be under
IEP compliance, so
IEP compliance and monitoring, so.
we'll start March 1st.
Excellent.
So Charles, when you came on board, didn't you get audited? Didn't the district get audited for some of the federal
So
grants?
it was the 3-year cycle, yeah.
Yep.
So this
So
is the,
hopefully this will help.
Well, we had federal investigators in my office.
If this keeps that from happening, then it's really good.
Keeps this from happening, yes.
Anybody got anything else on that one? All right. Next up, we got the National Special Ed Conference.
Make a motion to approve the 2 board members to attend the National Special Education Conference at the end, following policy BIA. Oh, the conference is the end of April 2026.
Okay, we got a motion?
Second.
And a second. Discussion on this one,
Mr. Chair.
please.
So this trip, if I am correct, is about updates of the law, correct? And Lynette, you've gone to this once? Twice. Okay, so, and Craig, you use this, I'm guessing, a lot. Or, I mean, are you using this or how?
Almost daily, yeah, almost daily.
And then members of your team find this stuff very useful so they know how to correctly document everything. I guess what I'm getting at is that I understand the importance of you going. I don't know what the benefit is as a school board member, let alone two, to be going to this, the cost benefit ratio there. And please enlighten me on that so I can get on board with this, because otherwise I feel like we need to be fiscally responsible as a board as well. And so I just want to make sure I'm doing that as a member.
So I actually had a discussion about this with Craig. And so as school board trustees, we are in charge of policy making and making sure that policy is followed. And within policy, there are several rules, state rules, federal rules, and special education is, there's a lot of federal rules. And so the 2 times that I have gone, the first time it was like a fire hose. I didn't really know what to expect. The second time that I went, I gained a better understanding. I attended several different sessions, and one of the sessions that I attended was on parental rights. And we deal a ton as school board trustees on policies with parental rights and understanding. And not necessarily just through special education, but through education period. And so with talking with Craig, the first time that I went, there was no presentation by the team that went to come back to the school board and given any kind of presentation of what happened. The second time that I went, there was a team that was put together to put together a presentation to come back and explain to the community and to explain to the board of trustees exactly what was learned and what was taken away from that conference. Unfortunately, our director at that time moved and went to another district. And so that kind of got just dropped. So this time I said to Craig, I would really like to see a team of people that when we come back, with the meat. And we give you the meat of what is going on, because there is a lot. It's a lot. The law is the law. We have to follow it. And within special education, there are lots of levers and there are lots of cables, lots and lots. Honestly, too many to handle. So my purpose is going and understanding, listening to these lawyers, listening to these different presenters. There's, a gamut of things that you can take. I mean, I really would love to take them all, but there's not enough time in the 3 days that the conference is. And so I try to hit the administrative pieces, just because that's kind of where we kind of lie as school board members. We're kind of at that 30,000 foot level. We need to understand that, the law is the law, and we have to be sure as board members that we're making sure that that's being followed. And so that was kind of my takeaway. Did you want to add anything?
No, I just think it power and knowledge. And so as you guys are dealing with policies and things like that, if enough of you have the opportunity to go there, and they'll do a law session at WSBA and things like that, which is helpful and interesting, but this just goes so much deeper into, and last year was the first year I went, so fire hose for sure. But yeah, I just think there's a lot of value in it. So.
And Marcia, this is funded through the IDA 611 grant.
I was guessing so.
Okay.
Even so, I mean, money isn't just free.
No,
Like,
it's not.
it's coming from somewhere, so I just, like I said, as, a person who's responsible for taxpayer money, I just wanna make sure that we feel that this is beneficial for a board member to go. I 100% support having our staff go, because, it sounds like this is an amazing conference. I just wanna make sure there's a benefit for board members that is going to be valuable for not only the district, but the board too. Because I feel like when we are in these different situations, we have attorneys that we obviously look to for legal representation, who know the law better than us, even if we go to a conference. So.
Interject just a little bit. I'm excited to go as a new administrator because there's something that comes up all the time that you've got to find out, you've got to learn, you've got to take notes on and grow. Part of that is understanding. I've spent a lot of time in board meetings and taking notes and learning there too, but it's a whole different perspective. And like in our leadership book study that we've been doing, perspective really matters.
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, that conversation with a board member after having possibly been in the same room in that space is something that I would very much value.
Marcia, do you remember when we brought the board manager years ago here, and it is the same type of conference because it's all about the rules and regulations, and the SPED director at Sheridan too said, I've been doing SPED for years and years and years, and what I learned at that conference changed how we do business. And I think that's, of all the conferences that you go to, this one is probably one of the more important. And I think as board members, I think this would be the one that I would say, after 15 years of doing this is the best one for you guys to go to. So.
Okay, like I said,
I also really, Marcia, too, reflected on, Charles always says, and I really appreciate this and I love it, bring the conference to us, like bring it here so that everybody can get pieces. However, this is a high level, like I said, that parental rights section that I sat on was this lawyer, I believe, from Connecticut, and he was like, parental rights to him, it's changing, it's an ebb and flow, and, they're interjecting, and words matter, right? Words matter in policy, words matter what comes out of our mouth, what we put on paper, and, gaining an understanding and, on like our rights as parents, because I mean, most of us are parents. And, that's huge when it comes to your kid in the school district and understanding that. And, so it's, to me, it's a conference, like, I would love to be able to bring a huge SPED conference here, but it's just so much bigger than that.
I'd just like to point out, one thing on here, in this, policy BIA, it does say that, during the professional development opportunity, that a school board member is expected to present information that brought back from this training, so whether it's happened in the past, it is in the policy there, so.
Yeah, I just want to commend you for bringing that up, because I kind of feel the same way Marcia does, is I support the staff going, if you work with kids and you write IEPs and stuff, but at our level, I don't know that we get to see all the laws and stuff, nor will we retain them, and that's where we count on Mr. Anderson to do that. So, yeah, and we've always talked about when you go somewhere, you're supposed to come back and you're supposed to do a presentation, which I don't think is happening. So if you guys go, I hope that happens.
Absolutely.
I'll just jump in.
And so can you stream that stuff? Can you watch that? Because not all of us can take off in April, no.
No, it's not.
So,
In person.
Mr. Chairman, may I speak?
Yes, go ahead.
First of all, it is a great question, because if you don't ask it here, somebody out there is asking it, right? So what are we doing and why we're doing it? One of the things you just went through is onboarding, correct? We just went through that, and part of that is professional development. What are you doing to grow new board members and understand at the 30,000 foot level? This is PD piece. I want to just point out very clearly. I want to make it clear, we're not forcing any board member to go. It's just the opportunity if you do have your schedules and you can't attend. At a higher level, it is just a seeking of understanding, because there will be things that come to the table that you as a board hopefully be able to have some expertise among the board that says, yeah, no, we're doing the right thing. So it is a little bit of trust and verifying. Any of you who've been to a conference with me know that we start early and we go late, all right? So it's not just a free trip. There's some expectations. So I appreciate the fact is we'll come back and do a presentation. But you as a board are where you're at now because of professional development. It's because of some things that we've challenged you with and that educational piece. Let's put everything out on the table as we did this morning in our book study about telling the truth. You're where you're at because you've challenged yourself to grow, okay? We had this conference at WSBA where all these boards go to these national conferences and they're attending. You're not that board that goes to 3 or 4 national conferences a year or just travels. You travel for a purpose, you come back with knowledge, and hopefully you'll share that knowledge with the board and more importantly, the community. And that would be something that we work on when we come back. Our goal, since Craig has been here, and we sit down, Craig, yes or no, but we sit down and said, is this something we need to go to? Instead of just saying we must go to it, is there something critical that comes out of that? And so that's why I went last year. That's why Charles sat in a meeting with all attorneys where he wasn't supposed to be. And when the person said, who are you? I said, I'm the superintendent. And she goes, you're not supposed to be in here. This is only for attorneys. That person is now collaborating with Johnson County School District on legal law. For $1,000 a year, we can make 20 phone calls a day and we can get reference because their specialty is what? Special ed law. And guess what else they do? They're also the one that gives guidance to the Wyoming Department of Ed. So sometimes we come back with connections that we can grow with and we can go and we can do some different things. But more importantly is if you can volunteer your time to go, I think it gives you a great perspective because everybody thinks special ed is something real simple and it is not. It is complex. And if you think you're going to go to this conference and come back knowing everything about special ed, you're wrong. It is probably one of the highest level, but has the most accountability out there with what that looks like. And in addition to this, we will have to prove, because of the funding, that auditing piece, that we actually use the funds correctly. So that there's a couple things that fall into that. But kudos to you guys kudos to you for asking the question. Kudos to the board having the conversation. And guess what we'll do next year? we'll have the same conversation. Is it worth going to? Yeah. Because I will tell you, my ultimate goal is to get the gal that Charles sat next to in a lawyer meeting to come here and do some training for us. And one of the things I asked her to do was she'd be coming willing to train you as a whole board. So those are some connections that we've gained also, okay?
And I'll just jump in and say I attended one of these my first year because I couldn't even read the special education director's report and follow what it meant. There was so many acronyms I didn't follow. I couldn't tell an IDEA from a FAPE from an IEP. They all sounded the same to me. So it was hugely beneficial the time I went that I could finally understand at least what was being said and read the report correctly. So that was my benefit the time I went. Okay, any other discussion on this one?
So Travis, just as security, just
Please.
for the piece, after you're done voting on this, and if you determine to go forward with as a board, and they're willing to come back and do some training, which that's part of the policy, they're gonna come back. What a great reflection piece when they get back.
Yeah,
Is
absolutely.
that something that the board should be doing? And let's have that hard discussion.
Okay. All right, then, all in favor of the motion to approve 2 board members to attend? Sorry,
One more piece of
Please.
discussion. I thought we talked about the idea of it being up to 2. We don't have to lock
necessarily
ourselves
2.
into
No.
sending 2,
Yes.
correct?
Up
Okay,
to 2, yeah. Could be 0, because everybody's schedule changes, right?
Yeah. okay, now I'm ready.
Do I need to amend that motion?
I don't think so.
I don't think you.
We're up to 2, okay. All right then, everybody in favor of approving a motion to approve up to 2 board members to attend the National Special Ed Conference at the end of April 2026, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Okay. Well, there's one tough one, let's have another. Next up, we've got the board reorganization. We spoke about at the public hearing at the special session last time. What do we want to do about starting the path to move the board from 9 to 7?
You have to make a motion.
We need a
So, yeah,
motion.
We need a motion, so I'll make a motion that we move forward with going from a 9-member board to 7.
Yes,
I'll second that.
we got a motion and a second, Dave and Benito. Discussion on this one. We've hammered this about 3 times, but here's.
We've hammered it out a lot, we talked about, most of the boards around the state of Wyoming, districts our size, function with a 7-person board. I've made the comment that the county operates with 3. I think what does city council operate with, 5 or 6? And while I understand that 9 people, you may have a more perspective, sometimes it's just more people that talk, it just takes longer for the meetings, but we in the past have struggled getting 9 members. I know we are not right now, but those days will come again. And so because this coming year, it's election year, there's 6 of us up to rerun, it would be a great time to reduce it if the board so chooses.
Chair, I just, one other thing, kind of from what Morris was talking about, whether the community sees it as, there's 9 people there. If we're even thinking about, how teachers have been dropping or been cutting back from the teach-reach, I think some of the community sees that the same as board. We're not being paid, but they still kind of see it as that. So it's kind of another way of saying, well, if we're making our teachers do more with less, then
Couldn't hurt us to do
shouldn't
this.
we be able to do the same thing?
Yeah, fair point.
Mr. Chair, I have some more thoughts to continue on with.
Please,
where I was.
please.
Since we started having this conversation about this several months ago, my biggest concern was we might jump into this major structural change that solved one problem but potentially had unforeseen repercussions. At this point, though, I think we've spent enough time and we've investigated all those consequences to an extent that we're ready to make a well-informed decision on this matter. I trust that whatever decision we come to tonight as a collective board, it's going to be the right one it's going to be what's best for Johnson County. And even if that is in line with my personal vote, that I trust the wisdom of the board because of the amount of time that we put into this. It's been an ongoing discussion from well before my time on this board, but from when I came in, we knew 2 things. We knew that there was pros and cons to this, going with pros and cons to having a 7-member board or a 9-member board, and we knew that the most important aspect was the quality of the board, not necessarily the quantity of the board. And so then over the past few months, discussion, research, talking with experts, reviewing the community surveys, inviting the public comment last week. The issue can be boiled down to two things. There's pros and cons to each, and it's not the quantity of the board, but the quality. And I'm not saying that any of that time was wasted. I think, in fact, it's the opposite. At least I have a much deeper understanding of those two themes. It's no longer just the cliche of quantity, not quality. It's I have sufficient information and data to be confident in putting that to a vote. I've got a lot to say here.
Go ahead.
In the first instance of the pros and cons, I learned that in the case of moving from 9 to 7, we're not talking about two diametrically opposed ends of that spectrum, of the pro and con spectrum. It's more like 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. We lose a little something here, we gain a little something there. The data and the testimony from the experts, they show that if we were considering moving from, say, 9 down to 5, or trying to go up to 13 or something, then those trade-offs could be a lot more extreme. But in the case of just moving and doing this 2-member shift, I don't think we're really at risk of reinventing the wheel. There's going to be that. The downsides that were the most concerning to me, and are the most concerning to me, is the loss of diversity and representation. I worry about disrupting this current board's momentum and the trajectory and the innovation that we've got. Reduction in the numbers also reduces our collective experience and skill set. And then there was also, at the beginning of this, we were talking about losing the ability to spread the work out evenly. So to break those down a little more, on the diversity and representation side, one side of that coin, yeah, it's intuitive that bigger board has more opportunity to represent a greater portion of the county. Specifically, 9 possible slots has a greater potential that one or some of those slots would be filled by someone that lives in Casey. And that was one of the comments that I heard the most when I was asking around. But it applies to the county as a whole. It's not just Casey. More members means a greater chance that your needs and views will be represented by at least one member of the board. The other side of that coin was, and that's the one that's driving this whole thing, is what happens when we don't have the interest to fill the seats. And Marcia made a great point last Wednesday that what if we only have 7 members that run, but we're still in this setup where we're expected to have 9 members, and so the board is required to appoint those other 2. Well, the public didn't elect those 2. And so that adds a level of separation between the board and the public, which is actually the opposite of maintaining that good representation. So on the next one, the current, where we're at right now, our trajectory and our innovation, we got a pretty good thing going. We got the secret sauce, which has been recognized and commended by the public, the superintendent, other districts, and even state lawmakers, including the Speaker of the House. There's other boards and organizations across the state that are taking notice of Johnson County. And I do have concerns about the ramifications of messing with those ingredients of that secret sauce. One thing that was reiterated this concern for me was last week at the work session. I counted 3 times where we were discussing something, and 3 different times where we had to take a step back, and somebody piped up and was like, wait, well, hold up. If we moved to a 7-member board, we couldn't do it that way. And so, some things would change, and that is a bit alarming. It is messing with our current secret sauce, so to speak. The third one that I had was the collective experience and the collective skill set. This kind of falls under the previous 2. Less people means less diversity, less variety in experience and skills. So that in turn, it has the potential to reduce the capacity for some of that innovation and creativity. But then the last one, the spreading the work out, it was a concern of mine in the beginning, but I think it's a non-issue. I mean, we all talked about it several different times, but most recently last week, and I think we all agreed that moving to 7 isn't going to impact our specific workloads in any way, any significant way anyway. So I guess to reiterate, shifting from 9 to 7 isn't drastic, wide-ranging shift from one extreme to the other, but there will definitely be some trade-offs. And this move could solve the potential problem of not enough names on the ballot, but not without sacrificing some of the advantages that we have with our current 9-member setup. So, moving on to that second truth, the quality and quantity. we knew it before, but we now know it a lot better. And that is that you got to get the right people in here, and then they'll do it right. So it's like, okay, but how do we ensure that we get the right people? And we can't, as a county, we can't leave it up to the wisdom of the electorate to put the right candidate in if there isn't enough candidates on the ballot. So whoever puts their name in gets in, and there's no real assurances that it will be those right people. We get who we get. So again, how do we ensure that the right people, the quality people will sign up and then in turn do it right? And the answer is we don't, but that's not the point. The point is the board needs to have accountability regardless of the makeup. And this is the most exciting part, what I'm most proud of us taking the time to spend this. We slowed it down, we took the time to really investigate it. Time and time again, during the discussions of whether to change our numbers, we've come back to that tenet of accountability. We realize the importance of leadership governance and the stopgaps and the rails that we are currently implementing, so that when we get the tools in place to truly hold the board accountable, the board will always from here on out be held to those standards of high quality, regardless of numbers. Some of the quotes two quotes that I came across while I was researching. The first one is, the key factor in enhancing board effectiveness is regular, comprehensive performance reviews of the board as a whole, identifying the relative areas of strength and shortcomings. And the other one was, regular performance reviews enable the board to focus on intentional self-improvement and thus maximize its capacity to achieve its stated mission and vision. So I think this process has confirmed that our work towards governance standards and accountability is important. We're on the right track. But I think it's also imperative that we keep moving down that path. We've made great strides towards self-evaluation and reflection, and in order to lock in that concept of quality over quantity. So for this and future boards, I think we need to continue and expand that. We need to refine what we've got so far. We need to continue developing our communication methods and our standards, and we need to keep working on professional development and trainings, and those opportunities to get the board trained up to where they need to be, to where we can be accountable. So I think that's where we need to continue to grow. And while self-governance is a great first step, the next steps are implementing additional performance review and accountabilities from outside of ourselves. I think we need to get feedback from other stakeholders and have them help us hold ourselves accountable. So we got some great ideas started and being hatched that we've already started implementing, and some new ones in the Leadership Governance Committee and in the Communications Committee, and I'm excited to see where we go with those when they come to the whole board and we start working through them. And I think as we get to a point where our evaluations and performance reviews are solid and robust, the quality and effectiveness of the board will be there, regardless of the number of the members, as well as regardless of the quality of the individual members. So I think as we vote on this, I'm confident that the other work we're doing outside of this particular issue is going to cushion some of those pros and cons even further, no matter which way it goes. So with that, I'm ready to vote.
Thank you.
Anybody got anything else? Anybody want to follow that up? Because I don't.
Travis, just a quick reminder, so tonight you're not automatically going on your vote. From there, we go to the petition to the boundary board, and there'll be a public hearing, and then on approval from the boundary board, it goes to the State Board of Education for final approval, and then move begins. So we really can't push this off any further. So what we vote tonight is the next step. I just want to be clear to stakeholders. No matter what direction, if you move to go to a 7-member board, it's just actually beginning the process. Fair?
Yeah. Okay, last call. Any other discussion? All in favor of changing the number of board members from 9 to 7, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay.
Yeah.
You got them? Okay. 6-3. Okay, we got through that one. Now, the extension of the fuel dispensing agreement. I hope everybody had a chance to read this one. It was new to the agenda tonight. Could I get a motion on the extension of the fuel dispensing agreement?
So I'll make a motion to extend the fuel dispensing unit as we are I'll give my discussion later. Anyhow, that's the motion.
Okay.
God, I was gonna get carried away.
Inspired.
So just a quick clarification.
I need a second. Okay, Marcia. Okay, now
Before
go.
we make the action, this is an extension of, this is an updated. It's been reviewed. So it's not an extension, it's an updated,
Fuel dispensing agreement.
yes, it's an updated one, so.
And we might have language problems on the document, because I thought the title on the document says extension of fuel dispensing facility operating.
Absolutely, Travis, but I also want to be very clear is, it's been reviewed by, so we're not just extending an old document. This has been reviewed, updated, so I just want to be clear that we're not just taking the old one. It's been reviewed, it is continuing the journey, but I don't want to have everybody say, hey, we just took the last one and we're just re-signing it, okay? There's a process that's been here.
Okay, and we've made all the checkpoints?
Yes.
Okay, I saw the city had signed off and.
So Charles, I kind of do think it's an extension because the original one was with the city of Buffalo and the Johnson County School District, and that's what this one is. The trouble is our past agreement was 3 years overdue, if you will. We have added some members to it, but I don't think that it's a new one. I think the voting members, and Bill or somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, that sits on the board, but the voting members will still be the city of Buffalo and the Johnson County School District.
That's how I read it.
So for those reasons, I think it is just an extension.
If we've updated language and stuff, that's all to the good as well. Okay, other discussion on this one? Bill, is there anything we need to know on this one?
Well, I think Dave and Charles pretty much summarized it. It is very similar to what we had, but there is new language.
Okay.
So,
Okay, any other discussion and questions on this one? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the revised fuel dispensing facility operating agreement, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Okay. That's it for action items. Down to general reports. Board, you got any questions for the principals?
Just a comment. I got a comment to you, Jake, and Mrs. Dahlberg. You guys have been here for 22 years for Johnson County School District, and that's awesome. I'm sure there's probably other people that have been here that long, but that's amazing. So thank you for your dedication for both of you.
Thanks, Craig. And time flies when you're having fun.
Did Craig just make a whippersnapper joke? Oh, okay.
I think, Mr. Evans, I saw you had lots of kids on the honor roll list, which was super fun and cool. And you also said in your video that the kids find out. How are they finding out?
Well, that just became, if you noticed, it was just updated today in my board report,
I
so.
feel like I might have missed it then, or
Yes.
because I was
Just
like,
got
I told
updated.
Tiffany, I was like, you made the honor roll. She's like, what?
Just got updated in my board report this morning. We ran it at 9 o'clock. And so we will be posting that, and it'll also be going out to Buffalo Bulletin.
Oh, rock and roll.
Yeah.
So fun.
I wanted to give a shout out to Clear Creek Middle School. They had a real fun dance last Friday night. I got to go chaperone. My daughter was thrilled with that prospect. Yeah, it was a fun dance. My kids had a good time. Anybody else? Anything for the principals?
Just we're off to a great start for the new year. It looks to me like.
Second semester's going. All right, district ops team. Anybody got questions, comments for the ops team? I like the crane pictures in the facilities. That was good fun. Anyone?
Just for John, how did the walkthrough go down in case?
Well, it went better than anticipated. We had 5 contractors there for it.
Hey.
We won't see 5 bids. There was people, I think, just there. There was some that slipped out of the back door or side door. Wright Junior High, or Wright School, also released that next day, the bid did. And another big project documents released on that Thursday. So there's 3 big projects out there right now. So it was good to see 5 people there.
Yeah, that is good for the walkthrough.
So we'll see what happens on the 22nd at 10 a.m.
Yes, That's the excitement. Anything else for ops, guys?
Just, so you know, projected numbers, we are, under budget right now by about $500,000, 490,000.
How you guys doing on snow removal, budget-wise?
We got some extra ice melt out there if you need some.
Making a heck of a deal out of it.
Right. Some salt for the cows.
Anybody?
I just want to reiterate, my celebration in there, it just goes to speak volume, I think, to my team and, support of the board and the district. We're making great strides. It's been many years since we had back-to-back holidays that the team could spend with their family without crisis. So I think that's huge to have that back-to-back. I kind of joke that I just changed from Thanksgiving holiday to Christmas, but it's just nice to get those guys, not have to worry.
Time and not in there doing emergencies. Yeah, that is.
Granted, we're not 20 below either.
That's good. We'll keep that for a while. Other ops directors, you guys got anything else you wanna? Okay, board? Hearing none. District admin. Questions or thoughts for the district admin?
Mr. Chair,
Please.
I just have a comment. Dr. Miller, I appreciate your work and the explanation of all the pieces that you're working on for the district. Exciting piece, I just put this together. I've watched it for months through all of the board reports from administrators. We are moving way forward with the PLC, like Maggie's report this month, talking about what her teams are doing with their PLC curriculum and like the school improvement plans and what they're doing through their PLC work within all the schools. I mean, it's aligning. We can see within all the schools that we've asked for those things and you're showing us the actual, like, the meat of it. And so I really appreciate all that work. I'm pretty excited about the cohort 4 for the right initiative that we're working forward in the district, and look forward to see what's going to happen with BHS and with Casey High School, just moving forward with that. So thanks. Good stuff.
Anybody else? Admin. I want to thank the business manager and her team. I love the Alleview. I love being able to click in Alleview and go see what everything's doing right now today. My favorite part of this new one. Anybody else? Anything for admin? Hearing none. Board level reports. BOCES?
There was no meeting in
December. Okay. BOCES.
Did not have a meeting.
Rec board?
There's no December meeting.
Excellent. It's my favorite kind. Anything else from any board? General reports? Hearing none. Other business from the board?
So, Mr. Chair.
Please.
And Charles, maybe you could help out a little bit, Mr. Miller, but I've been approached by some of the community members and they ask about, we really push kids to go towards college, but we need to work a little bit more on the trades and what can we do in our curriculum to help with the trades? But I think some of us, and maybe I'm naive, I don't know how many trades are offered through the school. And Mr. Pearson told me the other day about English that you could do through.
Get an English credit that Mr. Hanson just figured out for work study or technical.
Yeah, and so
writing on the
if there
job.
was a way that you could visit with the paper, whoever, and let the public know about what we do offer for the trades, because it's becoming so important, I think that would be beneficial.
Yeah, so I guess I'm gonna just kind of speak to that a little bit. That's the work we've been doing, so I'll do a better job, so I'll apologize to you and the stakeholders that not communicating the work we've done with the Whitney Foundation. U-Science, we're looking at aptitude tests. That's all the work that we've been doing for the last, I've been doing for the last 18 months. Jake has been involved for the last 12 months as part of the work that Dr. Miller is doing. So I guess can I just honestly ask, when those people come to you, they need to be sent to us so we can sit down and have those conversations. What Jake is doing in his building at BHS, if people have concerns, then send them to us. But if there's a lack of communication on my part, I'm gonna fully own that and I will sit down with the paper and do that. But we've talked about this very frequently. So if we're not reaching the right stakeholders, then I'll do a better job communicating that with our stakeholders. But man, if there's anything I wanna be proud of, is the fact is Johnson County School District is leading the state with the implementing of career experience and opportunities. So to say we're not doing it is a pretty frustration.
I don't think they said we're not doing it, they don't know what we're doing, and if you don't have kids in high school, you don't know that. So I'm just asking if there's a way to push it out, and that is, and I'm not saying that in a negative way at all, but if there's a way to push it out to let our community know what's going on here, I think it would be good.
Yeah, like even Jake, it's energy and natural gas, is that what you, or natural?
The next
Yeah.
sector for our
They're-
career.
Yeah, they're
Cafe.
really, yeah, they're really pushing.
So I wanna come back, I get that, and part of my frustration is because we're headed into a big communication piece, but I gotta put us on a bandwagon. We're doing more as a district than most districts are around the state. And so we can do a better job of communicating that to our stakeholders. But I do wanna say, when we do have stakeholders that have questions, let's get them set up with Jake at Buffalo High School. Let's have them talk with Mike with what they're doing with New West, or let's have them come in, because this is a question. We had people says, well, how come Dr. Miller can't rewrite the curriculum and we only have to do certain things? That's not how the process works. Dr. Miller does not have the magic wand to say, this is all you have to teach, okay? If he had that magic wand, Charles would have made him change a long time ago with what the standards are and adopting. So when we adopt standards and we have to go through a process, it's very complicated. And with some of the stakeholders, like you said, Dave, that have questions. But why? The why is, in the world is we have to play the game to where the way the game has been developed.
Yeah.
However, what we're doing is not accepting the game as the process we want to be in, so we're part of the change process rather than being just on the other end of throwing our hands up. So the worst thing about public education is that the wheel of education turns what? Super slow. What we do with that. So, good questions. I apologize, Dave, if I came off, it was just a sensitive button.
No,
I don't know how much better I could do it.
It's not a negative thing, it's just like I said, if we can push it out to our community and let our community know that we are working on the trades and here are the different things we're doing, and whether it be the high school, middle school, I think it'd be just really a positive thing, and we do a lot of positive things. So a great article for you to sit down with Charles and we'll see it in the paper eventually.
Mr. Chair.
Please.
I actually have the opposite experience of Dave. I have had people ask me in the community of the same thing, and I am in the second year of offering an internship through, I've had an intern through New West High School a couple years ago. And then this year I have an intern from BHS, and I'm not sure the name of the class. I know it.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and so I know within that, people are asking, basically what I do, my intern, is what I do. But I know that within that class, there's kids out there in mechanics classes, there's kids out there in the hospital, there's kids out there in different facilities and different hubs throughout the community. I also know we're housing the trailer, the CDL, I'm like the driving trailer, the CDL trailer. So we're housing that, and I know we've seen in in Jake's report that we have kids, that are able to get their CDL, which is huge. And so I've had exact opposite experience, and I have been able to answer that when people have asked, like, what are our kids doing? All they're doing is, math and reading, they're not getting out in the community and actually, because not all kids learn the same. Some kids, we've seen it, we've approved students that to graduate early that are like, I'm gonna go work. I'm gonna go work in a job, or I'm gonna go into the military. I wanna go in June. And or I'm gonna start my college career a semester early. So I actually had the opposite experience than you, and I have been able to answer that. Probably not to the degree that Charles or the professionals in this room could answer, but I don't feel like I would say, I don't know the answer to that, because I do with my own experience.
I'd like to share something, just because of what I've been involved with the Perkins and then seeing all the different things. If I hadn't been involved and I wasn't on the board, I would not know. So I really feel like it's something that people that are not, they don't have children in the school district, it's something that, should be more noted, and that people, like in the paper or however else we want to communicate it, I think it would be helpful, because honestly, if I wasn't involved, I would still be assuming we're doing things the old way, but we're not, like what you guys said in your board report, that it's more about the end of what these kids are gonna do at the end. Are they gonna go to college? Are they gonna have, do something in a different career? It's like, it's focusing them on the career and where they're going, so. I mean, that's just being somebody that doesn't have kids in the district, I wouldn't know. So.
Board, this sounds to me like an excellent place for the celebrations we've been asking for. It sounds like we've got kids out there doing great things. Maybe tag those into the celebrations portion and let's bring a little more spotlight.
So can I add to that, Travis?
Please.
I think this is a great opportunity for you as a board and your communication committee to determine how you as individuals are gonna reach out to the stakeholders that are asking your questions, so we can better communicate that.
Yes.
So if we've been celebrating already in board meetings and it's not reaching that past there, then maybe as elected officials, there's different avenues that you as individuals.
Yeah.
So maybe we need to go to as board members. Now I'm assigning. About ready to go bang, Charles, that's another duty. But maybe we look in the mirror and do a self-reflection of how I can help you as a board better communicate to the stakeholders that elect you what we're doing with career and technical too.
Yeah.
I mean, we always put things in celebrations, and I'm not opposed to that at all, but we're already doing good things. We're already having this conversation, so what are we missing to get out to our stakeholders that are not a part of the school or not on the school board? How do we reach those people? So I'll think about that a little bit.
We can work on it.
Just one comment. I work for Powder River Energy, and we, in the last 7 years, have hired 5 young men. Well, we've hired 3 of them, and 2 more work in the electrical trade. This is the last 7 years. If you go on our Powder River site, you will see their names in there. The 3, me, that's 4. So it's out there. The trade work is, it's the companies that are involved with a lot of programs from this U-Science that I think is going to be.
And I think the more exciting thing is the work we're doing through Perkins and all that kind of stuff. Part of U-Science is actually getting the industries that need the helpers into U-Science so they know what kids are available to them. So that is one area that I know we need to grow on. And Jake, the conference, did some of you attend the one in Sheridan where we had all Sheridan College there and all the businesses, and we recruited them to be a part of U-Science so they have access to that? That is something that I hope grows, gets stronger and bigger in our community, so we have industry or local people that want to hire our kids are a part of that process, so they have access to kids that actually have skill sets.
And it was cool because at that training, the governor was there and he asked a lot of those questions about with the ride and the different cohorts, because that was kind of like the piece that that he has going throughout the state. And so that was a really cool piece to that as well.
One thing I was gonna say too is, like, we really need to think about, like, the audience that is not hearing it, and it's probably the older people or people that are, 50 and up, don't have kids in school. So what medium can we reach them,
Well, not Facebook.
Right,
So that's
no,
why I said the
no,
book, because,
Facebook's
yeah.
for 50 and olders.
50 and younger, I thought
No,
you told
50
me,
and
that's why I didn't
olders.
sign up for it.
Or the newspaper, the Pemmican. I don't know. I'm just thinking, like, how are we gonna reach the people that really are making judgments without knowing really the truth?
And to add on what you're saying, Johnson County, Buffalo is becoming a retirement community, so there are a lot of older people, so how do you reach out to them? And you could be right, you could be right.
With our industry that we do have in here in Buffalo, I deal a lot with electrical, plumbing and all that. They're hurting.
Yeah.
I think inviting them into the school to BHS, the owners would be more than willing to just put it out there, this is needed. I talked with the state electrical inspector. He said the state's hurting. We're needing 50,000 electricians in the state of Wyoming with all this nuclear coming in. The problem is the state kind of bit themselves in the hand by taking journeymen to apprentice and realigning those numbers some years ago. And there's just not that many journeymen, so they're allowed to have apprentices.
Yeah.
I'm just fortunate, like my son Carter graduated in 22. He's in his 6 months of apprenticeship with a local contractor. And another one is, Amy Holt over here. They're bringing kids in.
Yeah.
So my daughter just got a job offer for there as a senior in high school.
That's neat.
So I think getting the tradespeople in, Cowboy State Plumbing, Desmond Plumbing knows, and just getting them in front of the kids so they can see it, I think it would be huge.
That's what you're saying, John, that they have to realize that you can make as much in the trades as you can with a 4-year degree.
Well, even Ford, the CEO of Ford said that they have 50 job openings right now that'll pay, just, in their garages, $120,000 a year. And it's like, that's just one company,
Cowboy State Plumbing is a teaching degree. He was a teacher.
A lot of this is happening. We just read in the principal's report that we had hospitality, events, tourism, arts, entertainment, and design in November, manufacturing, construction, transportation in December, and January looks like energy, natural resources, and ag are coming. So this is all going down. We've talked about it a few times. It's happening.
So this is great discussion, man.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think this can kind of come back to that one conference we went to with our girl that came. And when we went, she was all about tell your story.
Yes.
We just need to get it in the right space.
Just see it into existence. All right. Anybody got anything else in from the board?
Sir Chair, I just one more, and this would be more of a celebration too, but we did have a Wild Preps Athlete of the Week, Everett Thomas, so that was so cool. I don't know if any of you guys have seen him swim, but he's just beautiful.
Terrific, so kind of, this is on from the board, correct?
Yes.
I feel like this conversation was a nice segue into, we do have a communication committee set up. It's on our radar, I would say, within that communication committee, that these are things that we will work to address and help with our expertise if we can, and how we can prevent that bottleneck or help move that information forward. Within that communication committee, we've talked about creating a flow chart of board superintendent communication, how information within ourselves is going to move, and then that conversation just naturally flows into some of the other communications orientation pieces. So that is something that we as the board have recognized and prioritized, created a committee, and are actively working on as well. So I think that bears noting.
So approve that and bring it away.
Celebration.
Yeah.
When we get our whip, do we?
Yeah.
Anybody else from the board? We talked about a date for the Franklin Covey training.
Yeah, so Travis, when you're done with, let's start locking that date in if we can.
Okay.
So Heidi and I can work with that training and start getting flyers out, and actually recruit at the next couple state level pieces to come to, and then I will give my quick debrief on where we're at with recalibration.
All right. Anybody else from the board? Anything else? All right. Next up's public comment. We got any public comment this evening?
You wanna go, before we go there, do you wanna talk about recalibration?
Yeah, if you're ready,
Part of the board.
let's do it.
So Travis, I'm gonna give a 30,000-foot view of this document once it gets around. Our intentional piece was to talk every board meeting right here during board discussion about recalibration until we're through the process. So this is part of the expectations, unless the board would like to do something different, this is our time to shine.
Yeah.
So a key factor, those of you that, first of all, Christy, where are you at? Is Christy still here? Hi, Christy. She did a fabulous job with Rule 12 this morning, and basically telling the truth. So I think that's part of what we're doing as a board is telling people what we know, understanding that change is coming, and that we keep everybody posted as much as we know about the real facts we know and not about rumors. So that's the whole intent behind today. So in front of you, from the work last Friday, which I know our weekly meeting, we had some evidence up on the board, and that has changed already again today. And what that looks like. But what we have in front of you is what we understand here today. That could change by the time we go to recalibration, and it will definitely change by the time legislation is over with those numbers. So what I have in front of you is real information. There's a summary document on the front, but I do want to tell you there are basically 3 different avenues, which you only got to see on Friday was what the select committee had drafted. So there's the select committee's draft proposal for funding for public schools. We have the EV model draft funding proposal, and then you just basically have a current law. Nothing changes, okay? In those processes, what we do know is the select committee is the only one that we have the details of how that impacts Johnson County. We do not have the real information about what the EV model is. Okay, and then we already know if current law stays in place, we're gonna be down up to 7 FTEs and about $400,000. So we're starting to get the playing ground officially recognized as we go through this. But what I'm about ready to show to you is, again, draft legislation. If the select committee's draft resolution was to go through, it would be a net increase of only $11 million to a $1.3 billion budget, which is less than 1%, all right? But with that being said, there's a reduction of 705 FTEs in the select committee's recommendation. So they are giving more money to staff and employees, but they're reducing the number of employees that we should fund statewide by 705. Okay, the EB model recognizes, which we had to go through this today, because I even showed Mr. Evans over there. They didn't do a great job of explaining this, but the EB model actually gives almost it's a $100 million increase to the overall state funding. And with that, there's only a decrease of 122 FTEs. But we haven't seen the details of what that looks like for Johnson County.
How that came around.
So those are just high-level state predictions, okay? I want to be very clear, they're predictions, that's all they are. So the rest of the information here, so you put that into context, right now, public schools funding could increase from a plus 1% to a plus 7.5% in a $1 billion budget. The projection of reduction in FTE staffing could be a negative 1.2 to a negative 6%. So those are the variables, which is exciting to an extent because we know what the playing field looks like now. And we also understand that if the rules don't change. So with that, these are the types of things that I will now begin working with administrative staff so they can work with their teams to understand what that model looks like. The estimated impact on JCSD, number one, is I'm just going to be staying out. Change is coming.
Yes.
Okay. At what level of change and how deep it goes is going to be something that we're going to have to learn to deal with over the next 3 months. And everything's on the table. Everything's on the table with what we do. However, with that being said, the Speaker of the House came to our district We have a senator that doesn't usually go to districts attending our district. The work that has been done with recalibration over and the committees and the professional judgment panels from the district level administration, from you, a board of trustees, is paying off, okay? Because people are asking the right question.
Yeah.
The work you've done with other boards, you have a board member who, or connection to boards, who wants to know what Johnson County Board is doing to obviously be an active member during recalibration to support public schools. So I think we've set ourselves up well to kind of go through this process over the next couple months. So this information in front of you is, again, very fluid. It kind of shows you the potential, but there's nothing locked in stone at this point in time. Fair?
Fair.
Okay.
Charles, remind me again, the EB is evidence-based model.
Evidence-based model.
State's consultant provided?
Yes.
Okay, that's the EB. The LSO is what the legislators proposed at
That's
the
the
last
select
meeting.
committee, yep.
Okay,
So that was the additions, and then we have what current law is.
I just wanted to make sure I had them,
Yep.
who was who correct in my mind there. And the real exciting part is we won't know the final answer till the end of the legislative session.
Well, here's the frustration on Charles and Connie's part. By this point, actually 4 months prior to this point, we would have typically known the impacts of any recommendations so that we could start making adjustments as a school district.
Right.
At this point in time, the information in front of you is pretty minimal. Actually, it doesn't even, some of it doesn't even, one chart says one thing, another chart says another. So we are taking educated guesses as what this impact looks like.
Sure.
As you remember, I said, hey, they promised us the funding mechanism so we could play
So
with
we
the
could see the
sandbox.
model set.
That still has not been provided. We still don't have the evidence-based impact. All we have is basically the recalibration committee's recommendation, what those impacts are. So we're gonna stay proactive. We're gonna stay on top of it as much as we can. And I appreciate all the work that this board has done and district leadership has done to understand. But this is all I can update you on today. But that will change, I'm almost positive, over the next couple weeks. Okay?
I agree, it's going to be fluid and fast pretty soon.
But 3 things, I guess, to quiz. Understand, there's a current model, there's the EB model, and then there's a select committee, which is the recalibration model. So those are three different mechanisms that we have to decide where legislation, well, we're gonna have to monitor to see where legislation actually lands.
Ends up going.
Okay.
Yep. That's fair. Anybody got questions or further discussion on recalibration?
They canceled the meeting there this month. Did they reschedule it, Charles?
Recalibration is still on track. It's for the end of the month.
Well, I think you did it on your invite.
Oh, it's just
Yeah,
that's just the Google invite that got.
Yeah.
That's just a Google invite.
Yeah, it's a
It's still
reschedule
happening,
and we're
it
leaving.
was just.
I had 3 Google invites out to you guys and I cleaned it up to 1. I had 3 different people that invited you to the same meeting, so I just canceled the other 2 and they still stayed the same, so. So we travel, I travel for the CIFDAC meeting, so we're leaving early next Wednesday morning and then the rest of everybody's coming down that afternoon. And then we will begin the long journey. It'll be a long recalibration. It's gonna be packed. Those of you that have never traveled with Charles before, it'll be an early morning because I do not want to be at the meeting and standing out in the hallway. So we're gonna be there to get the seats first. Kind of like last time, Travis, we beat the custodians there so we could get into the room and get a seat. So
Sure, we had a seat.
we had the right seats. So it will be a very well-attended recalibration meeting in Cheyenne. And we'll just kind of gather up and go from there. So the work you've done at the School Boards Association, some of the other boards that are coming, wanted to collaborate afterwards with you as a board. So we'll do some of those meetings that evening and then we'll travel all the way home. And here's the positive. There looks like there's not going to be a blizzard on the way down or the way back. So it should be pretty safe travel.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. And I would encourage if any of you, is this changed within 2 hours before the meeting? If,
It will
again,
update
if there's something here that, man, that doesn't make sense, or there's a correction, let me know, or give me a call. Okay?
All right,
Other than that,
nothing to it.
no public comment. One quick thing for executive.
Okay. I would entertain a motion to enter executive session under Wyoming Statute 16-4, 405, Section A, II, and III, personnel and legal matters.
Second.
Motion Casey, second Reed. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Short recess before we do that?
Aye.
You do sound like, you guys can sit together. I can't hear what you.
Jeez, let's turn the heat up in here.
You have to have food.